Hello, Charmaine. Welcome to this conversation that you and I are going to have, which is part of celebrating Foster Care Fortnight. And so I want you to introduce yourself in a minute. I'll just briefly introduce myself. I'm Emma Fincham. I'm a fostering consultant in the Policy Research and Development team at CoramBAAF. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Emma, thank you. My name's Charmaine Orchard. I am care experienced, and over the years I've been involved with lots of different projects to do with working with children in care and improving their overall care experience. And I run a community interest company called Connected, which carries out cultural competence training for social care staff.
Brilliant, thank you. And the reason that we've asked you, Charmaine, to have this conversation chat with me today is because you have recently been elected as our chair of our Fostering Advisory Committee, which we are absolutely delighted about. We just wanted to have a kind of a conversation, just kind of to reflect a bit on your experience of being part of the CoramBAAF Fostering Advisory Committee, and I suppose what made you keen to put yourself forward to be one of the chairs of the committee, or the chair, I should say.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so what was interesting for me is that I've done a little bit of research on CoramBAAF and came across what it is that they do. And when I was introduced to the idea of the committee, I initially got involved because I thought it would be great to really see how much I could contribute towards the steering of that group, what sort of impact we can have, and the sort of work that we can engage with, in whether it's like local authorities on a smaller scale or something that's on a bigger scale. Because of the various work that I've been involved with, looking at education attainment, as I said, cultural competency and identity and belonging for looked after children. That's something I thought that I could bring to the panel too, from a care experience point of view too. So yeah, I think that was my reasons for wanting to get involved, and the experience chairing it has been great. It's been great to see the various people from different backgrounds, different disciplines, and professional groups all coming together with the aim of looking at improving the care experience of young people. And it's inspiring to see so many people that are dedicated to doing that, and what it is they've done so far. To sort of, it just shows there's just a wealth of knowledge within the group that we can really put together and make some changes moving forward.
Thank you for that, Charmaine. You just mentioned cultural competence, which is an area that is, I know, a passion and a particular kind of, you have expertise in that around delivering training. So I suppose if we're thinking about fostering communities and cultural competence, what comes to mind for you? What do you think when we talk about that?
Okay, so it's really, for me, it's all of the different people involved in the young person's life, whether that's sort of directly and it's the foster carer, or whether it's the social worker, or in a way, even if it's when I'm thinking about cultural competence, the people involved in designing and delivering that is all with the same aim, essentially, of improving that experience. And when you're looking at the overall community, the care experience community, I guess, when you think about fostering communities, it's everybody involved, everybody trying to sort of work towards that same aim of just sort of improving that experience. But then fostering communities for me can be, I've been involved with lots of different settings with researchers. So you know, carrying out research within the care experience population to look at education attainment. I'm obviously involved in this committee. I've sat on various fostering panels before. I've worked directly with students and young people. So these are all different groups that you wouldn't necessarily think of initially, that actually kind of contribute toward that and actually are a part of that community as well. So yeah, that's what springs to mind.
Thank you, because I think there's something about some fostering communities naturally kind of are created or naturally exist, I should say. Yeah. And then I think there's, as you were saying, there's also something around we within the sector have a responsibility and the luxury in some ways to be able to create some communities, don't we? And some of that is around creating communities of some shared and common values around, as you've said, trying to improve experiences for our children and young people. And that might be thinking about their identity needs, that might be thinking about the area that they live and what's available to them. It might be about equipping foster carers with feeling confident around either around meeting identity needs or around ensuring that the child, young person they're caring for has enough time with their family members, so they spend enough time with family. It can be many things, can't it? But I think that community, my experience of working with foster carers is they are absolutely amazing at connecting with one another and supporting one another around trying to do whatever's best for the child and young person, or children, young people that are being cared for, and the foster carers around them. But sometimes I think foster carers might need some additional support, steer, resources, time, space to do that. As chair of the Fostering Advisory Committee, I think you and I will continue to have conversations along with the vice chair around the kind of areas that we would like to think about, reflect on, and essentially influence with whichever ways we can through the committee. So I suppose I was just thinking, what's come up for you particularly that kind of you feel passionate about or resonates in the couple of meetings that we've had so far? And if we're looking ahead, what do you think is will be areas that we will focus on, think about looking ahead?
Okay, so some of the important areas for me are around the protected characteristic. Some real changes in my life were sort of education attainment, something, and the work that I've done looking at education attainment has been something that's made me realize just how important that is. Anyway, we know that, don't we? But I think there needs to be more push to encourage young people and children in care to go beyond whatever the expectations might be. And I know that that's something that does come up quite often in some of the stigma related training that I've carried out, sort of expectations of young people in care and things like that. So that's one thing. As I said, the protected characteristic and things around identity. And now I don't necessarily mean just identity when it comes to ethnicity. I think the identity, which is linking in with the protected characteristic of the overall care experience community. I think that there are lots of issues around stigma, misconceptions, preconceptions that we need to work on. And I think if we were to embed that protected characteristic, then that might mean that companies, schools have an obligation to educate the young people in schools, and companies, their employees, on this group of people. And as a result, I hope over time we'll sort of reduce stigma. So I wondered if there was something that we can sort of steer towards within the group, focusing around that and pushing education. But there are other things that have come up that I think are equally important that we do need to sort of focus on too.
Thank you. They feel like really good starting points, don't they? There's something, listening to you talking about us needing to always strive to be ambitious, really ambitious for our children and young people in care, and never to assume, like you were saying, never to have preconceptions, not to make assumptions that would not lead to the child or young person that we're thinking about should be hopefully equipped, enabled, supported to every opportunity that's available to all of their peers, and however that looks. So there is something around that, and I think those are, if they're key aims for us to kind of get the committee to focus on over the next 6 to 12 months, that's a brilliant starting point for us. I would say I think there's plenty there, isn't there, for us to be doing. Thank you very much for doing this conversation with us as we embark on Foster Care Fortnight. And I think the great thing about Foster Care Fortnight is it brings fostering in focus. It allows us opportunity to do this, to have conversations, to celebrate, to reflect, hopefully raise awareness, hopefully will encourage more people who might be wondering about fostering to approach their local agencies, local authorities, to have the conversation. But I think as well, we know, because we're in this world, that this is what we're doing all the time. We're always celebrating, we're always raising awareness, and we're always trying to improve services for our children and young people. So exactly. Brilliant. Thank you, Charmaine.
Thanks.